Russell, who's very kindly agreed to come along tonight to share his experience with mental health with us. So,
Hi, my name's Russ, I'm an alcoholic addict.
Hi, Russ.
It's good to be here, it's good to be clean, to be sober in a meeting of Cocaine Anonymous. When I was younger, I didn't think I'd end up in a church hall on a Thursday night with a load of people looking at me. In fact, I quite rebelled against the thought. But then again, I didn't really sign up to be an alcoholic or an addict anywhere. That wasn't on my list. That wasn't on my to-do list either. But it was one of these things that happened, and I had no kind of control or decision in the fact that I became an alcoholic addict. It was just one of those things. I don't really question why it is. It was just one of those things. And bizarrely, all through my using, I never really admitted that I was an alcoholic or an addict. I only realised I was an alcoholic addict after I stopped drinking and using, which is fucking bizarre, isn't it? Now I call myself an alcoholic and addict 3-4 times a week, and I haven't taken a drink or a drug for years. I'll give you a bit of background to myself. It's not really very interesting. My story's not really hugely interesting. There's nothing crazy in it, and it's not too dissimilar, I'd wager, to any of your stories. We all have a similar kind of shared past, which is one of the beauties of recovery. And Cocaine Anonymous is that you all share this. We all have this common peril that we've been running away from that fucks us up without remorse, regret, or it just doesn't stop. It just consumes everything in our lives. And but also, what the most beautiful thing is that we have this common solution, which is here in this book, Alcoholics Anonymous. Available at your local meeting, £8, £8.50? £8.50, yeah, bargain. And it's much cheaper than it is on Amazon. And we have this common solution, and this is what really unites me to my families. I came up with these guys. I came up by myself actually. These guys from Nottingham, I see them every week, and that's what really unites us. That we don't just have this addiction to substances that we're trying to run away from. What really unites us is that we have a common way of living, and we have a common way of dealing with life's problems, and a common purpose, which is to try and help other people. So I chat to the guys, I chat to them in the meetings, I chat to them outside the meetings, I meet up with them, and it's beautiful. It's a lovely way of life, and it's in stark contrast, as you all know, to addiction, which leaves us by ourselves, closing the windows, sitting in the dark, thinking a load of shit and a load of crazy thoughts. For me, a load of thoughts about what a terrible, terrible, terrible human being I was, and that's kind of where my addiction took me, and now I have a life where it's not like that, where I integrate with society, I integrate with other people, and I have this close bond with the people in recovery, which is beautiful. I've never been intimate in a way that I am now, that I am with guys in recovery, people in recovery. I always thought I could be, I had a different idea of what intimate meant when I was drinking and using. But when I share everything with them, and they know me as well as I know myself, and I don't really have any qualms about telling stuff which I might find embarrassing or shameful. I tell it, there's usually quite a good laugh in it somewhere. And once I bare myself and I kind of get a bit more vulnerable, these guys will respond and say, well, I've done the same thing, or I've done something similar. And there's nothing too shameful or too much. Problem is, if I leave it going in my head and fester and fester and fester, it becomes this big fucking thing, and it just swamps me. And that leads to a drink. Anyway, I've gone way off the topic. So, a bit about me. I'm not from Sutton, as you've probably guessed from my accent. I'm from the mean streets of Surrey, where it's full of Waitroses and tree-lined drives and stuff like that. And that didn't make me an alcoholic addict. I first started drinking, taking drugs in my teenage years. I can't remember the exact dates, it's not really important. There was nothing in my childhood. My childhood was quite nice. We were very comfortable, we went on foreign holidays and stuff. There was nothing in my childhood which made me into an alcoholic or an addict. I remember I first started drinking with my mates. Good, get wasted, a load of fun. And I loved it. I loved the freedom that it brought me, and I loved the feelings, and I loved the camaraderie from getting wasted. Getting wasted was fuckloads of fun. In my teenage years, and I pissed around with as many drugs as I could get. Started pissing around with acid, that was a load of fun. Magic mushrooms, God, I love them. Speed, pills, and later on coke, and it was a load of weed. And it was all a good laugh, and there were kind of no real hangbacks for me. It was all okay, and I moved away, and I moved around the country quite a lot. I went to uni in Manchester, which was great, and then I could kind of conceal my drinking and my using a little bit easier, because there was thousands and thousands of students, and at least half of them were women, so I was pretty happy. I could dit and dart around different groups of people, and I could kind of conceal what I was doing. I don't really think I was doing it at the time, but looking back, that's what I did. And also, I remember that I never really, it sounds a bit wanky and a bit California, but I never really liked myself. I don't remember taking this into a therapy session, because it's 12 steps on therapy. But I never really liked myself. I was always kind of vaguely disgusted about myself, slightly ashamed. There was something sordid about me I didn't really couldn't put my finger on, but I didn't like myself. And I soon found that if I could kind of collect friends or collect acquaintances, a bit like a phone book, then I couldn't be that much of a twat if I knew all these different people. So I kind of collected friends and acquaintances and was this little social butterfly who didn't really like himself, but was damned if I wasn't going to show you that. And it helped me to sort of hide my using, and people wouldn't get too critical. People got critical of my using, my drinking. For me, it was mainly drink. And if people got critical of it, I kind of retreated into my shell, and I really didn't like it. I wanted to tell them to fuck off, because that's what I wanted. I was too scared. And then I just ignore them and blank them and go and do what I wanted to do. And I hated people, what I saw as criticising or attacking my using. My using was something that I did. And it was for me, and it's just the way I'm living life, and I'm going and having fun, and fuck you. And I was really quite, I can't think the right word, really very dismissive to any suggestion that my drinking and my using weren't very good. And it didn't really cost me that much at the time. There weren't that many consequences, is what I mean. And then fast forward a couple of years, I lived in Brighton for a while, and I had a decent job. My ego loved it. I was driving around in a company car and stuff. But my addiction was still growing and growing and growing, and it swapped from booze to weed, because I was paranoid of losing my licence. And then I moved away, and still hating myself. And I moved up to Scotland, because that's obviously going to fix me, where they're very well known for being healthy and not liking a drink. And now I got introduced to a lot more cocaine, and it's around this time that my drinking, in the book, Bill talks about my drinking assumed more serious proportions, and it was around that time that my drinking assumed more serious proportions than my drug taking, and coupled with a kind of decline in my mental health, drinking kind of ceased to become something I did for a laugh, which is what it had been before. And it was something that I did just because it was a bit of a release. It's what I wanted to do. It's how I relaxed. It's how I did stuff. And if I was depressed, it's how I made myself feel better. And so I did that, and I found that if I could get, and I started using it to medicate, and I found like a few hour window. If I went out drinking and sniffing, I got a few hour window on how I was feeling and the crap, which is depression. And then I was there for a few years, and I moved around again, moved back to London, and then moved to Nottingham, and that's where that's where I live now, and it's where by this point, just solely my drinking was kind of at its worst, and I was kind of a bit bewildered by it. It confused me. It didn't make much sense. I'm quite a clever guy. I understand stuff. I could explain to you, I don't know, politics of the Second World War. Or I could explain to you how my computer works, or I could explain to you loads of different technical things, but I couldn't explain to you why I was drinking the way I was, and I couldn't explain to you why I couldn't seem to get a handle on it. So I could get a handle on other stuff, I understood other stuff, it made perfect sense, but I couldn't seem to get a handle on why my drinking was the way it is. And it pissed other people off. It didn't piss me off that much, and it pissed other people off, especially my ex-girlfriend. She didn't like it too much. Piss beds and stuff aren't the most attractive thing I found out afterwards, and it was messing my nursing up. I moved to Nottingham to become a nurse, and it was messing my nursing up, and I wasn't making it into class, and I kept getting taken to hospital, kept getting me to hospital. I'm diabetic and doesn't seem to agree with it. And I kind of could see that my life would be better without drink. And I don't really touch drugs at this point because I was mainly concerned about a load of drink. So I discovered Frosty Jacks, which was like a sordid Christmas. And I could get pissed for a fiver. And I was confused and bemused about why I couldn't control it. And so I went to a few AA meetings and I heard some great stuff. And I heard this honesty I'd never heard before. And I heard these, this power, I felt this kind of power in the room. It's like a room right now. And that kind of gave me a buzz. And you may have guessed I quite like having a buzz. And I kept going for a few times, But all the people in the room, they're a lot worse than I am. They were real losers. They're real fucking simple because they said things like, I'm grateful I'm here, I'm grateful I'm sober. And I said, what the fuck? Easy, you just don't go to the office, don't go to the pub. And then when you drove here, you got a bus. Fucking what are you grateful for? And I didn't understand it, and I thought they were a bit simple. I explained that in that meeting, and they laughed at me. Since and so I kept, I was off for a couple of weeks, and then I started again. Some trivial excuse made me start again. I was off for about 6 weeks once, off the booze, not all drugs, for about 6 weeks once. Felt great. Lost a load of weight, hit the gym, I was looking quite buff. It was a long time ago, by the way. And then a similar thing, someone just passed a drink my way. I went, yeah, all right, then bam, I was back to where I was. And there was no kind of thought that my memory wasn't good enough. And that was kind of my problem, that all the suffering that I had, and all the shit that I had from girlfriends, from jobs, from finance, from health, from just internal stuff, just thinking I'm a complete piece of shit. None of that memory, that memory of those things didn't help me. It didn't help me to stay sober. It wasn't strong enough to stay sober. It wasn't enough for me to stay sober just on the memory of that suffering. No matter how much I wanted to stop, I couldn't stop. My willpower was fucking no good. I got this little whiteboard on my desk, and I remember writing it saying, drink if you want to, fuck up your nursing, piss Stella off. Stella was my girlfriend, not the drink. Piss the bed, have no money, fuck diabetes up, diabetic, and a couple other things. And so I was really willing. When I wrote that, I was really willing to, not going to do it, not going to do it, not going to do it, not going to do it. And a few hours later, I was doing it. And it didn't matter what I said to myself, how I did it, there was nothing that was going to stop me from going to pick up. And then once I picked up, we all know what happens then. I don't have like half a pint and go, oh, that's really satisfying, thank you very much. I don't have like a skinny kind of hairline of cocaine and go, yeah, that's really good for me. Oh, I'm free, I'm going to have a cup of cocoa and go to bed. No, fuck that. I want more and I want more and I want more and I want more. It confuses me, and I don't understand people that just have a couple and then they're satisfied. That's not how I work. That's not how my brain works, how anything works. When I start, I want more and more and more. And also, no matter what I do, no matter how much I want it, how willing I am, my memory, is another one I've forgotten, my intellect, none of this helps me. Because at the end of the day, I'll go and pick up, and it may be a few hours later, I'm going, not going to do this again, not going to do this again. Piss some people off, I piss myself, wrecked another phone, I don't know, cracked some glasses or something, and just fucked people off, and I'm not going to do it, 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 and a few hours later I'm doing it again. And this is kind of the nature of my addiction, that I can't stay away from it, no matter how much I want to or how much I need to, I can't stay away from it. I didn't know this at the time, I just thought I was a fucking twat. And a pathetic streak of piss of a 31-year-old man, not 31 now obviously, that I just thought it was just my failings, it was just me being pathetic and shit. And then I came into recovery, and I dragged my feet coming into recovery because I didn't want to. And I'd already been introduced to sort of meetings. I had no idea what the 12-step program meant because it had a word God in there a few times, therefore it didn't apply to me. And I didn't think I was as bad as everyone else. And I kind of wasn't ready, or I hadn't really exhausted all the things I wanted to try to kind of sort it out myself. But eventually, kicking and screaming and a bit reluctantly, I realised I was kind of fucked, and I realised I might have a slight problem with alcohol. Just that, perhaps, maybe a slight problem. Not definitely, obviously, but maybe there's a chance. And I got assessed, and I went through some services, and I went to a clinic in Nottingham, and they accepted NHS patients, and it was good, and it was 28 days, And first of all, I balked and I thought, 28 fucking days to sort this problem out, can't you just give me some tablets or something? And I didn't really realise how big my problem was. I was completely blasé about it, I was completely blind to the size and the scope of my problem. I didn't realise that my problem didn't just affect me, it affected the people nearest to me, the people that love me, care about me, and were watching me over the past few years destroy myself. That didn't occur to me. It didn't occur to me that the people I knew just a little bit worried about me. That was totally fucking beyond me. And I just thought it's my life, it's what I'm doing, it's what I want to do. It's really fucking selfish, I'm going far too much about my drinking. And I got there, and they gave me a load of counselling, thank you very much, and they gave me a load of Libriums, I like them. And then they got me back in touch, 12-step recovery, and kind of, which is what I've done since. I went to a rehab, which was one of the best things I ever did, and there they took me through the 12-step program of action, which is 12 steps. As I kind of talked about before, I said that I have no power of choice. I have no power of choice on whether I pick up or not, because sometimes my head's going to convince me that to go and pick up, and I have no defence against it. My intellect doesn't work, my willingness doesn't work, and my memory, it doesn't work, none of it works. I'm going to go and pick up, this is what happens, this is my alcoholic mind, my addicted mind. And then once I start, I have no control over what happens. I have no choice then. I just do whatever, and I'm not in control. I'm not driving the boat, driving the ship, whatever. And so we kind of have to work out whether or not we're an alcoholic or an addict of my type. And there's a bit in the book for this. I love this book. It's £8.50, available at all good meeting places. And this is where we get our recovery. It's where I get my recovery from. And it's only a little bit. It's only like 164 pages, the bits I'm interested in. A couple of those chapters I ignore. And it's 164 pages, and it's changed my life and continues to change my life. I've owned this book for a good number of years, and I still look it up. I get it out every day. It's either living in my lounge, in my car, or meetings and stuff. I take people through it. I read stuff. I don't read that much by myself because I'm pretty lazy. But I take a lot of people through it and explain it to them. And if you haven't got a copy, you need to get yourself one. And it says here, it talks about different types of drinkers. And if you're a drug taker, just swap drinking for drug taking. It says moderate drinkers have little trouble in giving up liquor entirely if they have a good reason for it. They can take it or leave it alone. I know loads of people that can take it or leave it alone. And it's not a problem for them, it's not an issue for them. Perhaps they maybe do it sometimes, perhaps they won't. And I think, when I was drinking and using, I thought I was the same as they were. And because I couldn't exert the same amount of control that they did, I was a bit of a twat and a pathetic streak of piss. But that wasn't me, I'm not that person. It says, then we have a certain type of hard drinker. He may have the habit badly enough to gradually impair him physically and mentally. It may cause him to die a few years before his time, but if a sufficiently strong reason, ill health, falling in love, change of environment, or the warning of a doctor becomes operative, this man can also stop or moderate, although usually may find it difficult and may even need medical attention. And then when I first read this, I thought, perhaps this is me. I'm not a proper alcoholic. I'm just a hard drinker. And luckily, I didn't have to do any extra research. I kind of looked back through my experience and realised that I had loads of sufficiently strong reasons. I remember being diagnosed with diabetes. Didn't stop me. I got home and I was snorting coke that night. Loads of stuff that I really wanted to do. My nursing, I really wanted to do that, but I couldn't, and I couldn't stay stopped. And that's sufficient. I was going to say that's sufficiently. If a sufficiently strong reason becomes operative. I had loads of them. Didn't help me. Falling in love didn't help me. Warnings of doctors didn't help me. Change of environment, London, Manchester, Brighton, Edinburgh, none of it helped. I couldn't stop and moderate. This isn't me. And then it says, what about the real alcoholic? And this is what all 12-step stuff's for. It's for the real alcoholic. He may start off as a moderate drinker. Maybe I did. He may or may not become a continuous hard drinker. Maybe I did. But at some stage of his drinking career, he begins to lose all control of his liquor consumption once he starts to drink. And that was me. I'd lost all control. And if we go a little bit later on in the book, I'll jump around a bit. You may ask me why I'm quoting the book. If you read it, you'll find out it's beautiful. And then it talks about the diagnosis and the definition of an alcoholic or an addict, where we're totally hopeless. It says, if when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, and that was me, I couldn't stay off it no matter how much I wanted. Or if when drinking, you have little control over the amount you take, I had fucking no control, unless the money in my pocket ran out. and then I try and get more and more and more. Then you were probably alcoholic. Yay. And for me, finding out that I was an alcoholic and being able to diagnose myself, no one else could do it for me. I had those two things that were wrong with me. It made everything a lot easier. And also, I had to realise a few things, and I just want to talk about this if that's all right. I realised I was alcoholic, and I realised I couldn't manage my own lives. I couldn't manage my own life. My life was going shit. Couldn't control my finances, my emotions. Couldn't control my relationships with people. They were always pissed off with me. I didn't want to be pissed off with me. I felt sorry for myself. I retreated. I just couldn't manage my own life. Couldn't manage my own life. And then I had to realise that probably no human power could have relieved my alcoholism, which is quite a jump. I've done quite a few things to try and get better. Everything that I could think of. Get fit, have new friends, move 500 miles across the country. Do this, do that, have a new job. Look better, dress better, take some supplements, whatever. Anything that I could try and do, get some counselling, anything that I could try to do to manage my own addiction didn't work. Which kind of leads me to the point that's saying that anything that I do doesn't manage my own addiction. I can't do by myself. I can't do anything to stop my addiction. Can't do fuck all. I've been doing this for a while. I got sober in January the 30th, 2009, and still today, 10 years later, there's nothing that I can do to manage my own addiction. It's too much for me. Left to my own devices, I'll be fucked. And that point will come where, if I just leave all this stuff alone, I'm positive that the point will come where I'm going to go and pick up again because it's going to make sense to me. Just like it did all those hundreds and thousands of times. And so there's nothing I can do. So when someone explained that to me, I didn't explain this to myself, obviously, I'm not that clever. And they explained that to me, that there's nothing I could do. They then asked me the question, they said, are you willing to go to any lengths for your recovery? And I went, yep. And I was about to start some spiel about how beautiful it was and how I was going to do it really well and blah, 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 and all this ego-fueled bollocks. And he walked across the road, the bastard. And but it kind of left me with that. Am I willing to go to any lengths for my recovery? Once I realised the size of the problem, and I had an idea of what the size of the solution was, it looked like a bargain. Because I couldn't live life the way it was going, because it was terrible, and I felt miserable, and I hated myself. And this stuff in recovery, coming to meetings like this, everything seemed all right. And they seemed to have some semblance of serenity, some semblance of peace of mind. And so, yeah, was I willing to go to any lengths? And I've had to kind of prove that. And problem is, I can't do it. I can't stay stuck by myself. So I have to start doing things that I don't want to do. I don't want to go to a meeting. I can't be asked to go to this meeting. I can't be asked to go to this meeting. Well, I've got to go to it. How serious am I taking my recovery? How willing am I? I've got to go to the meeting. I've got to suck it down and go. I don't want to phone my sponsor. I don't want to get a sponsor. I don't want to get a sponsor. Do I want to drink? No. Can you do it by yourself? No. You've got to do it. You've got to do it. A friend of mine who passed away a while ago from cancer, I don't know if that's relevant. I heard him share, and he had this great phrase. He said, just has to suit up and show up. That's all he has to do. Suit up and show up. And that's what I have to do. I have to suit up and show up. I have to do things and step into things that I don't want to do. I have to bare my soul to some guys and tell them what's really going on. I don't really want to do that, but I've got to do it because I can't stay sober by myself. I go to meetings, I help run meetings. I don't really want to do that, and my head will convince me it's a rubbish idea and I shouldn't do it. It's too much like fucking hard work and pull me, but I've got to go and do it. We started CA Nottingham, I don't know, about 5 years ago or something, and for a long time I was getting resentful about meetings and things, and that I was doing everything and I was sponsoring all these people and carrying this message, which is a message in the book. But I just had to suit up and show up. My job now, it says in the book, I can't remember the pages, it says in the book, my job now is to be of maximum service to God and to my fellows. After I've gone through the 12-step process, my job now is to be of maximum service to God and to my fellows. And so that's what my job is now, is to be of maximum service to the people about me. That's you guys, that's why I'm here tonight. Maximum service to the people, not just in recovery. I've got to be of maximum service to my wife, people at work, maximum service. And if I start taking the reins too much, and I start thinking, well, I don't really want to do this, my willingness for my recovery is going down a bit, and I start running the risk of running off in Russ's la-la land, and then the risk of picking up again. So I've got to keep my motivation. So when Steve asked me to come here last week, the answer is always going to be yes, because I have to be willing for my recovery. My recovery is really important to me. I take my recovery very seriously. And I have a lot of laughs whilst taking it seriously. And and I have a good laugh with the guys that form a good part of my recovery and my sponsor and stuff. But I take it really seriously, and I do the stuff because, one, I don't want to go back to the misery of addiction, which I'm sure I would do. I'm convinced I would do if I left this stuff alone. And also, life's beautiful now. Life's so much better than it was when I was drinking and using. And life got better for me when I put the drink and the drugs down. And then it was all right, but I was vulnerable and I was quite shaky and I was quite nervous and I was very unsure of myself. And life got a lot better when I went through the 12 steps. And then life got better when I started applying the 12 steps as opposed to just sitting on my laurels thinking I was amazing. Life got better. Then I started carrying this message and life got better. And then when CA started, I changed the way my recovery worked, I changed the way I've sponsored people, and I just got a lot closer to what it says in this book, and then my life got better and better. And life continues to get better and better as long as I do a few simple things. The simple things I do is I pray, I meditate. I'd love to say I did it every day, but I don't. I meditate, I try and be the best person I can be, and I take inventory at night. I write down when I was a shit, how I was going through my head, who did I help, what did I do wrong, where I was a selfish, dishonest. Just take a snap back at my day so I can see which way I'm going. And I do a gratitude list, and I carry a message. And part of carrying a message is coming here, doing service and stuff. And I know a lot of you guys are in rehab. You wouldn't be in rehab if you could control this problem yourself. I just urge you to remind yourself that you can't do this shit by yourself. You need help. And for me, that meant doing a lot of stuff that I didn't want to do. I just had to suit up and show up, whether I wanted to or not. Whether I was screaming, no, I can't be asked, no, I can't be asked. I still do it now, my phone rings. And I'm just press play of this really interesting YouTube video about some geeky shit I'm into. And I look at the phone, I can't be asked, can't be asked, can't be asked, can't be asked. As soon as I pick it up, press pause on YouTube. All right, how you doing? I'm suddenly out of my own little world, out of my selfishness, and I'm helping someone. I'm alive, and I'm part of the world. Problem is, if I sit and doing YouTube for too long, I'm not in part of the world. I'm by myself, and I'm cut off from other people. I'm cut off from God, and then runs the risk of me picking up again. And I don't want that. My recovery is too important to me. My life's too good. I got married in recovery. I've got 4 beautiful stepkids. I've been a best man twice in recovery, and I've done this all without drink, without drugs. And I'm not saying that to get adulation or anything. I'm just saying that life's possible. It's possible for life to be a lot more beautiful, a lot more loving, a lot more compassionate, and take on a lot more meaning. When you successfully put the drink and drugs down, how do you do that? Well, you fucking apply everything to the 12 steps, and then you'll be alright. And life you like and life depended on it. And I've never been asked to do anything bad. The only things I've had to do, which are uncomfortable, is express how I'm feeling. Not in a counselling kind of wanky way. Apologies to any counsellors in the room. But in a kind of expressing stuff where I'm going to think that you think worse of me. And just that, and get over some embarrassment and start saying some stuff that I haven't done. And I urge you all to look at your lives, think where yourself got you. If you need some help, there's a 12-step program here, but you have to give yourself kind of utterly to it. That's the way it works the best, and I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
You want to say I'm an addict?
I